Hi, everyone. Welcome to today's episode of the Leadership Adventure. I'm so excited to have Lynn Wayne with us today. Sarah is a nutritionist and wellness consultant, and she's on a mission to help women who are losing their keys, their cool, and their mind during perimenopause. Welcome, Sarah. Great to have you with us today.
Hey, Cassia. So great to be here with you, and welcome. Hello, everyone.
I'm so curious to hear how you got started and how you decided to focus on perimenopause. What's the story behind that?
Well, I've been in the health and wellness industry for over 17 years, and I've known so much about getting my health to an optimal place, helped hundreds of people, and I was feeling at the top of my game when I was 43. This is a few years ago. And then everything changed in 1 year. I just started gaining weight, was anxious, felt like I was losing my mind. Literally, I was forgetting words. I was forgetting why I went into the room. I was losing my patience with my family. I was just not I really felt like something hijacked my brain. So after some testing, looking at my hormones and realizing I was in perimenopause, and that sent me down a whole trail of okay, I need to figure this out for myself. And in my research, came across how much confusion, how much just lost a lot of women feel during this time. And I realized if I, with all my tools, also had a challenging time getting through to the other side, now I feel so much better. I feel like I've managed all my symptoms. I think about the women who don't have the toolbox I have and how this needs to be talked about more, specifically because this is a time when women are most likely to commit suicide, get a divorce, and I don't think it has to be that way. So I'm on a mission to really help women let this be a peaceful and enjoyable time of their life.
Yeah, and you're right. I mean, there's such a lack of information and support for women during this time, right? And I think most women don't realize until way after these symptoms have started. So I'd love to hear first, is there anything that we can do before it starts?
Yeah, I mean, that's probably the best, most ideal thing. I mean, I feel great that I had the opportunity to get my health to a great place beforehand. Everyone's an individual, so it just depends where you're at. But the first thing is lowering your stress levels is probably the number one. I would say cleansing your body of toxins and inflammation. If I was to summarize everything I want to say today, it would be clean your body and lower your inflammation. And we can get into some details around that, but that in itself, lowering your stress levels, is going to be huge. And then there's a bunch of nuances underneath all that. But yeah, it was during a stressful time during the shutdown, and life itself was super stressful for me. And so it's very easy to attribute it to other things, right? And then you don't realize, oh, there's a whole change happening in my hormones and my brain at this time. So yeah, optimizing your brain health, optimizing your hormone health, it's really, really important to start early.
Mm-hmm. And so, the stress creates hormone fluctuation, and perimenopause also creates hormone fluctuation. So the two together sound like it's a compounding effect. Is that what you mean?
Yeah. And sometimes even just having overload of stress can kick you into perimenopause earlier.
Wow. Okay. And so I'd love to hear a little bit more about how that works in the brain, and what are the hormonal changes that are happening during perimenopause that we really need to be paying attention to.
Yeah. So while let's just kind of lay it out so we know what we're talking about here. Perimenopause is the stage of a woman's life where her periods start to become non-ovulatory. What's the word for it? She's not ovulating every period, and they might be changing, fluctuating. The hormone levels start to fluctuate out of the normal range. That's really defines perimenopause. It's elusive. It's kind of hard to really pinpoint it, but it's generally around that period. Age 35 and up is when you can usually predict like that's the period it will start to happen for women. 35 is very young, but it can, usually around 30, 40, 39, 40. And then menopause itself is just like a date on the calendar. It's when you have not had a menstruation for 12 months. You're considered officially in menopause. So in this period of perimenopause, like usually progesterone is the first to drop, which is your hormone where it's like, everything's cool. I feel good. I can handle life. And estrogen can drop or it can raise too. It can go out, just fluctuate a lot depending on what's going on with your body. There's testosterone, there's the DHEA, which is the precursor to all the hormone. There's also your estradiol, which is your estrogen. There's 3 forms of estrogen. And like, I could get into the details, but really what you want to know is your hormones are this balancing act. It's like a seesaw. So it's not one or the other. They're all kind of keeping each other in check. And they start to go either really low, especially when progesterone drops is when anxiety can kick in. Everything irritates you. And your brain also changes. So it's an endocrine system. Your ovaries and your brain actually are connected. They're talking to each other. So while the changes are happening in the ovaries, there's also a lot of changes in the brain. And in fact, there's a great image of a brain pre-menopause and after menopause by Dr. Lisa Mosconi that shows how the brain can actually decrease in activity by about 30% on average. I mean, so for some women it's going to be less, for some it could even be more, but your brain literally is not as active in a lot of parts. So that's why you have the perimenopause brain. It's a real thing.
Less communication between the neurons at that time.
Yeah, there's like a restructuring. I mean, I think even on a deeper level, like we're restructuring who we are. We're going from our childbearing years to now a whole new stage in life. And there's just a rearrangement. Yeah. And as you're in that fluctuation, that's when most of the symptoms happen, is kind of towards late perimenopause. And it's once you're through menopause, for many women, the symptoms do subside and your hormones will regulate out, and you'll have them regulate more like you were before your period started. So you kind of have a little bit of the hormones, but not as active as you were in your childbearing years.
Mm-hmm. And so, as far as being able to address, these symptoms. So, for example, like if we feel the brain fog is so difficult to manage and to be able to really get things done, right? Because we still need to be able to function at work and at home, etc. So, what would we need to do to address that, or how do you help your clients, handle that?
Yeah. So one of the first things I teach is awareness, just presence and awareness to what's going on with your body. This can start by just dropping in, tuning in, listening, like being quiet, actually meditation to hear. Some of us are very good at hearing our body. And if not, also getting testing. So testing your hormones, getting blood tests, like looking at what's your levels right now will give you a nice baseline. It's really helpful. I use a home hormone testing kit. So it's just a urinalysis that you can do on your own at home. It's called Mira. And there's also a Dutch test that I recommend for getting accurate hormone testing. So it's just helpful, like see where you're at, get clear. And then also, like I said, tuning in, what are you doing? I think deep down, we do know when we're making choices for ourselves and our health, or we're in too much stress, right? Like what is your low hanging fruit of things you could just change to reduce your stress? And that will, but then also sometimes sleep is disrupted a lot at this time. So fatigue is just like compounded. So I look at like first making sure you're putting good things in your body. Is your nutrition like actually supporting yourself? Sometimes what I found during this time is I needed a lot more protein. And that just turned my brain on. It was like night and day when I basically almost doubled my protein intake, and also took a few supplements that were just like very helpful. Sometimes you might want to do HRT, hormone replacement therapy. I highly recommend bioidentical versus synthetic. Is a huge difference in what's noticed in the body, but that is such a personal choice. I'll just say, like, some women don't want to go that route. You want to just support your body naturally going through this phase without taking hormones. But for some women, it can be life-changing, and it can just get you through a period where you are really, really struggling. I took bioidentical progesterone for a very short period, maybe a month or two. And that just helped me realize, like, wow, that's okay. I felt normal again. I felt like myself again. And it gave me a perspective of how much things had changed. So then I could start to have some time to adjust what I was doing and supporting my body with, while I felt more like headspace for it. You know what I mean? And then I've actually gotten off the progesterone and I go back and forth depending on what my numbers are showing in my testing. So I hope that answered some of the question.
It's brought up a lot of questions in my mind. So first, how often do you suggest testing? Because I've heard that our hormones fluctuate quite a bit, right? And so the testing might not necessarily, like if we test in the once in a blue moon, it may not actually really be helpful. So what would you recommend as far as frequency to really understand what's happening?
I don't have this in front of me, but I know Dr. Stacy Sims has a great suggestion for testing if you're going to just do one time when you test your hormones. I think it's like 5 to 6 days before the start of your period, or if you're not menstruating, then you basically pick a day and you get that tested and just see where you're at that baseline, and then test again in a few months, like maybe every 3 to 6 months is kind of a nice just checking in to see. But if you have, I honestly would say it's very helpful to get a home testing kit, because now I get to test my hormones every day if I want. I have a testing routine where I do a few times a week just to check in, and it's so helpful to see right on the spot, like that's that's where I'm at. So, okay, my progesterone's super low. Let me add in a little bit of this bioidentical progesterone this week. And it went up a point. So, and I noticed the difference, right? Like, I think we can do a lot more ourselves without needing to rely on practitioners or doctors. Not that we shouldn't, but just that we could take a lot of it into our own hands as well.
So you help you help your clients set themselves up to be able to do that, essentially, is what I'm hearing.
Yeah. And I help my clients talk to their practitioners or doctors as well. I can be a liaison for just helping them understand, like, how to communicate your needs. And sometimes doing the home testing kit can help, so you can present the data to your doctor and say, look, here's my fluctuations. I think we should maybe, look into testing this, because sometimes doctors will say, oh, you're too young, and they'll dismiss women and want to give her a antidepressant. And honestly, I truly believe that before any woman is prescribed an antidepressant, she should have her hormones checked.
Yeah, it's an interesting point that you're making. I mean, here in Canada, with the public system, they only really tend to do what's necessary, right? And so when I have asked for hormone testing, I was told that, you really don't need that unless you really have something happening, that, we have to do it. And if we do it, then it might not really be that helpful because your hormones are fluctuating anyway. There were a few things that you shared there that were really interesting. And, I think one of the key things is to understand that difference between synthetic and the more natural forms. Maybe you can share a bit more about that, because I'm not sure if everybody would be familiar with the differences in HRT.
Yeah, like I'm definitely not the top expert in HRT and how that all works, but I know enough. I've helped formulate supplements before. I've done a lot of research, and what I do know is, like, the big study that everyone refers to, with the Women's Health Initiative. It's like a landmark trial that was done in early, I believe, in the 1990s or early 2000s, and everything got stopped because it was showing an increase in breast cancer, a much higher incidence with breast cancer for women. And so that study was stopped, but then a few years later it was reevaluated, and it actually found that it was associated with lower breast cancer in women after hysterectomy. And also when the data was looked at, there was a lot of holes in the study where they used a synthetic form, and now there's bioidentical form, which is exactly like the progesterone or estrogen or, the hormones in your body. And so there's a big difference between synthetic and a bioidentical as far as how your body will respond to it. So that's important. And also when they did the study that everyone kind of gets up in arms about, the issue was they chose women who had been in menopause for about 10 years. And from all of what I've researched and what I've talked to doctors and practitioners about is that you don't want to be putting women on hormones after menopause because it regulates itself. You want to be putting them on hormones years before menopause, like 5-10 years before, if they're having these wild fluctuations. Now, that's, like I said, it's a personal choice. You don't need to take them. There's so many other ways, so many natural herbs and things that you can take that will help naturally support your progesterone, your estrogen. There's exercises, there's getting sun, like vitamin D, there's just a lot of natural things, right? So that's why I think it's so important to realize you have a lot of choices here, and there's just a lot of you could say conflicting information about that study because of the nuances of it that people don't talk about. They just kind of give you the media clips, right? Like, it's bad, it causes breast cancer, but there's a whole lot of other factors that go into that. So
yeah, I remember that, and then the fact that they changed their opinion on that study.
Just to give you a perspective, like, women, from what we know, have been taking hormones like estrogen since the 20s. So it's been around for a long time. It's just that, we also have new, I really, in my own belief, is the less synthetic molecules you can put in your body, the better. Our bodies are never going to assimilate synthetic. It's just not natural, right? So the more closer you can get to your actual body's cofactors, what it needs, the more likely you'll have a positive experience instead of a negative.
Yeah. And so, there are a couple of things that I think are important here. First, the first question that comes to mind is there anything we can be doing to actually produce more estrogen and progesterone ourselves in terms of our activity or our diet?
Oh, yeah. There's so many things. Even just the simplest thing of lowering your stress, like that in itself, because when your cortisol is high, it robs all your other hormones. Like high cortisol, it's, like I said, it's all this balancing act. So cortisol can hijack a lot of your hormones. And if your adrenals are also taxed from a stressful life, drinking a ton of caffeine, which punches your adrenals, like that kind of stuff can just set you up for a more difficult transition. So that's where I'd start. And also making sure you have optimal levels of vitamin D, vitamin K, getting those tested, making sure your thyroid is functioning well. That's going to help. Progesterone, you can take things like chasteberry. Vitex is a form that's natural. It's from the berry. It's made from a lab with yams, but the body handles it very well. So people have great success sometimes by taking something like chasteberry or Vitex. Estrogens, you can take them in plant forms, just by eating a more rich plant diet. Tofu, there's I know debate. Some people love tofu, hate it. It's, it can be, I used to be totally against tofu because I was allergic to it. But then I realized some people have, if it's a fermented tofu, like tempeh or soy sauce, that will help raise estrogen. There's so many different routes, but I actually feel getting sun in the morning, literally sunning. That's what I do every morning. I go out, no matter how cold it is, and I just let the sun into my body, because that's how you produce more vitamin D. Get your vitamin D levels tested, because if they're low, that's going to affect everything. Vitamin D is also a hormone. So that's just a start, and then I look at the individual person, what are you doing to support how your body just converts energy and makes makes use of everything you're putting in it. Because you could even put in a very healthy food and healthy nutrition, but if your gut's messed up and, there's a lot of other things going on, you may not convert the energy.
Yeah. And so, because all these vitamins are often just, discussed, and actually the science of it is, I think, not often looked into, right? Because everybody is so busy. So you mentioned vitamin D and vitamin K. What do those actually do in the body? Why are they so important?
Well, vitamin D is like the synthesis for so many other processes in the body. It's like it kind of comes first, and it's shown like if your vitamin D levels are low, your whole immune system shuts down. Like it's one of those levers, like you might have this off, this off, this off, but if you move this one little lever, then it helps all the other things, right? Vitamin D is one of those. Like it's just kind of like also DHEA it's a hormone that just helps your body make all the other hormones and that you need. So yeah, I think that's what I would say about that. And that's why the awareness is so key, like getting yourself tested to just know where are you at right now. Give yourself a baseline. Or, maybe you just, sometimes I'm just intuitive about it and go, I just know I need this right now. And so I will take it. And I have supplements I take every day. Like there's certain things for me that just optimize my body so distinctly. Things like creatine, CoQ10, vitamin E, a multi-factor. In fact, I made a whole list. It's called the Peri-menopause Resource Guide. I'm putting that together now. So hopefully it'll be ready soon. I can share that with your audience. But it's basically my list of what I found to be the most effective in perimenopause and just resources with movement, because even just moving your body will help balance your hormones as well too. It's like exercise, HIIT, training, things like that, lifting weights. Yeah, in each, this is something I emphasize too. We're biochemically individual. This is a key thing. And like some people, I say, this is going to be great for you, this is going to be helpful for you, could hurt somebody else. So that's why sometimes I'm cautious to just like blanket say, everyone should take this, everyone should take that. Yeah, there's a general idea, like make sure you're balanced, your levels are there. But I also teach things like muscle testing to test your nutrients, your vitamins, your medications, or even procedures to see. It's applied kinesiology. You can look up muscle testing. But it's just a way to see if the body says yes to it or no to it. Your body is a truth teller. It really is. And it will let you know through your symptoms, like if it likes what you're doing or not, right? I mean, we can't deny it. Our body expresses when it needs to express, whether we want it to or not.
Yeah. And it's interesting, I find, sometimes you really do know what you need. Like you really know, I need carrots, for example. I need vitamin A, or something's telling me that this is what my body's missing right now. But then at the same time, you get sometimes cravings for nachos, and I don't really know what kind of nutrition that's bringing, because I don't think, that a lot of that is actually adding a whole lot, but maybe it is. Sometimes it is more of that emotional or, fulfillment, pleasure type of need that's driving the craving, right?
Well, cravings, emotional, but they also are you can connect cravings to nutrient deficiencies. There's like if you're craving chocolate, you most likely you have a magnesium deficiency. If you're like some kids will be eating dirt, you see kids eating dirt or clay, and it's because they don't have enough minerals. Their body literally is like starving for minerals. So at the foundation, if you have cravings, I always look at your minerals. Those are like you need minerals to convert your vitamins. So
I think I did get in trouble for that when I was about 5. So yeah, it is interesting that, intuitively we are aware that this is something we need. And then I think that there are just so many confusing things available out there these days that it's easy to go wrong. Because there was a documentary I saw the other day that I thought was really interesting, and it was about how Europe, the regulatory system in Europe doesn't allow many of the foods that are allowed on the shelves here in North America, right? And
Mm-hmm.
I'm very conscious of that because I know that my body responds differently here, for example, to bread than it does in Europe, right? The wheat is just different.
Yep.
So it's interesting to see, you know, what things are labeled as healthy, organic, green, you know, and that these things aren't necessarily actually good for us at all. We're
Yeah.
just led to think that they are, right? So I think that that awareness too is so essential
Yeah.
to be educated about that because, you know my eyesight is starting to go, but I still try and read all the labels in the grocery store to make sure that I know what I'm actually consuming.
That's the most important thing to read. Like if you're not looking at the labels before you buy food, it's roulette. Like you don't know what they slipped in there. Sometimes even the labels don't even show it because there's actually laws that say you don't have to list everything if it's a certain percentage, which, you know, that's why that is really where how you could take some of your power back is don't buy into the labels. That's marketing. Look at the ingredient list. Like always look at the ingredient list. Yeah.
Yeah, so I've started carrying my reading glasses with me to the grocery store, even though I'm
Good.
still getting used to them. They're still a new thing for me. But for me, it's such an important thing to know what I'm putting in my body. And unfortunately, we are misled too often into thinking that something is good for us, right? So I'm curious if there, as a nutritionist, if there are any, any suggestions from your end as far as avoiding specific products or ingredients that you know, like are a big red flag to watch out for.
I mean, really anything synthetic and that was made in a lab. Like there's just no reason we should be putting that in our body. Mother Nature creates our food, whether you are vegan, vegetarian, or carnivore, or somewhere in between all that, like just eat real food, like at the foundation. That's going to help you a long way. And if you have cravings, you're like, oh, but I love those Hostess things, or I love those, like, you know, little like this is what I do with my clients. I'm always like, well, let's make it a healthy option. Like, let's get, you know, something that at least is less toxicity and less inflammation to your body, because is that craving more important than how you feel 10 years from now? Like, you really want to think, do you want to be mobile? Do you want to be feeling good? Or do you want to like give into these little cravings that are going to start creeping in with inflammation and toxicity in your body and then build up, and then you're going to have bigger issues down the road? Like, you got to see the long term, you know what I mean?
Yeah, and I think the points that you're sharing are super fascinating because yes, of course, I know that I want to be mobile, I want to be healthy, etc. But making those decisions sometimes it can be really tough, right? Because of the fact that our time, our energy at this age, we can be juggling so many different things, right? Between kids and parents, and then our health can sometimes fall to the last thing that we're thinking about, right? That's such a common habit for women in this age that we're in. So
And that's where
what? Mhm.
yeah, go ahead. Go ahead.
Yeah,
Go
I
ahead.
was just kind of curious, like what are your thoughts about just making it easier to be able to stay on top of our health and make sure that we're doing the right things for ourselves?
I love that you asked this question. So there's two things. Well, actually, there's kind of three. You could lump them together: beliefs and systems. So the beliefs you hold about yourself, your identity. If you're somebody who believes that you are a healthy person and you make healthy choices and you take good care of your body, you'll just do those things. They're part of your lifestyle. They're not something extra you think about. It's like, I am busier than anybody, yet I just have the system set up because the identity I hold is somebody who prioritizes healthy choices for my body. I'm not perfect at all. Like, I have my exceptions. I have little things that slip in here or there. And then I go, oh, let's come back to, usually it's adjusting the system. So one is I do help people shift beliefs. Like, if you have a belief around what it means to be in a body, what it means to be healthy, or who, like the identity of, well, I'm getting older, like these age beliefs that we have, they're BS. Like we can shift those beliefs and actually be getting healthier and healthier as we age. I see that. I've seen actual examples of that. I myself am an example of that. And so we have to look at what's going on in our mind, because that's going to control a lot of what we already feel and do and how our body responds to things. And then systems, making sure that you have just systems in place that kind of put bumper lanes in so you can't derail too much from what you know is going to be healthy and supportive to your body. And where you feel like those little holes are, or those leaks, like, oh, this is my weak spot, or oh, this is where it always tends to, like, I get these cravings at night and I just go to the fridge. Well, if you only have the foods you can eat that are good for your body, then that's a better step, right? I get sometimes we live with people who like to buy the bag of chips or cookies, and it's not helpful for us, because I am that person. Like, I had to tell my husband not to buy dried mangoes because I couldn't control, like I literally didn't care that I would have an issue. So I get there's a gut imbalance usually what's going on. And I had to like take care of my gut issues again. Because that can happen a lot during perimenopause too, is rebalancing your gut flora. When that's out of balance, it's much more difficult to say no to things. And so my hack, it's kind of counterintuitive, but my hack for sugar cravings is apple cider vinegar and water. So take a tablespoon. If I'm like, oh, why did he bring home that cookie? Like, I know I don't want it, but it's just there. And I have this, like, on principle, I'm just going to eat it. So it's gone. I know it's like, I'm not perfect either. I'm telling you, like, I'm wanting you to see, like, there's a human element to this, but I know if the apple cider vinegar goes into my body first, it actually will squash that craving, and then I can say no more easily. So I have this, like, backup plan, right? So to have your systems.
Love that. Yeah. And, there are a couple of points there that you made. One is that I think it is a common habit for women to put themselves last and put their kids and other family members before them. So just really understanding that if we are not functioning, if we are not taking care of ourselves, then everything is going to be so much harder, right? To be able to manage all of that is way more complicated when we're having health problems, right?
Exactly. And there could be also, I want to say there could also be a history of, like, you've been denying, like, the truth for yourself. You've not, like you just said, you're not taking care of yourself. So now it's like becomes more apparent that, wow, I need to assert myself. So it's like you look around and you're like, maybe this isn't where I want to be. Maybe this isn't the person I want to be partnered with. Like, maybe this isn't the career I want, like you have this wake up period of, what do I really want now? Like, there is a shift like that for sure. And taking care of yourself is the most, I feel like, that self-love, that deep self-love, it's an expression that you can now, like, give the overflow to others. But when you are depleted and you try to give to others, it is such a poor exchange, right?
Yeah, and exactly. And as you're saying, then other things like the communication, the ability to keep our cool, all of that suffers as well, right? So I think all of these things are important. And, unfortunately and fortunately for me, I've had family members who were like that, who really didn't take enough care of themselves. So for me, it was like the desire to do the opposite, that I'm going to take care of myself first before I'm, tackling anything else, right? Because I know that I can't function at my best if I don't do that. So as far as nutrition goes, I'd love to understand what else you think is important for energy, right? Because we had some of these questions. I know Amy Lynn asked about combating fatigue, and I was curious if you have any suggestions around, foods that really would help around energy and moving through that to help lift the fatigue.
Yeah. Well, I think what I would do is I'd want to see what is Amy eating? What does her lifestyle look like? Because then we could see what actually does need to shift. I don't know what she's doing already. So it's hard to just answer point blank, but are you getting enough protein is something that I feel to ask. Like, what level of protein, because sometimes if we're not getting enough protein, we can't function and our cortisol levels can go up too high, especially as women in the perimenopause phase. And depending how active you are, you need more protein. Like, I can't emphasize this enough. Sure, there comes a period where you may not need as much when you get older or when you're in different phases of life. But during this phase, if you're really suffering from fatigue, I would look at, cleaning up your diet, making sure you have enough protein. It's more than the FDA's. Like, don't look at the regulatory amounts that are suggested, because that's just enough to keep you like heart beating alive. To be honest, it's not optimal levels. So you need to adjust for you. Like, I needed to have twice the amount of protein, like way more than I thought I needed. And I finally felt I got my brain back. Taking things like creatine, I honestly, that's probably, if I was to say across the board, here's one supplement, I would say, check it out. A quality creatine. I think Dr. Amen makes a great one. I love his, because it also helps with the brain. It's not just for bulking up and getting muscles. It's actually just getting energy to your body and to your brain. And I take creatine now every morning, and I feel sharper than ever. I feel like I'm just recalling my words, where before it was like just blank. And that's like, I would say, Amy, start there. And then there's a whole lot of things. And I do an assessment with people. So if you ever want me to just like look at what you're doing, get a snapshot of yourself and what's going on in your particular situation, feel free to, connect with me for an assessment, and I can look at everything for you from a mind, body, and spirit level.
Yeah. Thanks for that. I think that you're right. I started taking creatine last year after I went to a workshop. Actually, there was a workshop around some of these topics live here. Mm-hmm. And I have found that made a difference for me as well. I bought it from my mother too. So she's just starting to take it now. Because she was really struggling with brain fog after chemotherapy as well.
It's been shown to actually, like, if you have a really poor night of sleep and you take creatine, it can balance out your HRT and all, like from a biochemical, like looking at your labs, like it can do a lot to repair your body from stress and lack of sleep. So I double it, sometimes even triple it if I've had an off night. And it's because the first level, like the first amount goes to all your body muscles and tissues. And then once you get enough there, then it can go to your brain. So you want to increase the dose to get it to your brain.
Yeah. And have you noticed that, because I was reading that the time that you should take it is after movement, right? So after a workout or after a walk.
That's your goal. You could take it anytime. Mm-hmm. No, I take it before in the morning so that when I do go move, and I feel so much better and more energized.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I know that we had another question around Tina. Tina Wild mentioned that she was having painful wrists and stiff ankles. Is there anything that you would suggest for that?
Yeah. So obviously that's inflammation. We'll look at what are you doing that might be adding inflammation. Do you notice it more when you have sugars? What kind of, like, sugars really can cause that kind of stuff? So first there. And then what's your mobility routine like? Like, are you actively moving them? I know this, I had a period, this is actually why I ended my career in graphic design, as I was wearing double wrist guards. Everything hurt. My joints were just in so much pain. I couldn't do much. And it was sugar for me. Like, even now, if I have a little extra dark chocolate or extra mangoes, in the next day, I'll feel it in my wrist. So just notice if there's things that trigger it. And then mobility, like, you have to move it or you will lose it. Like, every day, be doing things that stretch out and move those tendons and muscles and joints so that you get lubrication. That's so key, because sometimes we sit too long, we don't do the movements we should be doing. And if it's too painful, you just move up to it slowly. You just start where you're at and move into it slowly. And also, I find that fascia, if you have very hardened fascia in areas, you want to do things to open that. And my favorite resource for that is Human Garage. So you could find Human Garage on their website or on YouTube and look up wrists, and ankles, and they're going to give you some great, exercises you can do to help alleviate. Yeah.
Thank you for that. Yeah, I think that there was also one comment there from someone that said that they weren't experiencing any symptoms at all. And so, are there people that don't see any of this during their transition into menopause? Is this really a personal, experience?
I think there's about estimated 30% of women aren't going to really feel anything.
30%. Okay.
Mm-hmm. That's, I've seen different numbers. I've seen between 20, 30, 40, but like 30, it seems like around a third of women or less are going to not have any noticing. And I think it might have to do with twofold. One, your body's been taken care of. It's in a good place to handle it. Your stress levels are maybe lower. You're in a good marriage or a good partnership. You've taken care of yourself. You don't have maybe as much existential crisis in your world going on as well. I think all of that contributes.
What about things like dry skin, for example? Is there anything that you would recommend for that?
So number one, full spectrum vitamin E. You cannot go wrong. I love the brand MRM, but it's got to be full spectrum, which is meaning it has all the cofactors of the vitamin E, not just the one tocopherol. I'm forgetting the other names, but basically you'll see there's more than just one vitamin E line. There should be 3 to make it full spectrum. That was actually when I first started taking that, my hot flashes decreased by about half in 2 days. And then by the 5th day, 6th, 7th day, in a week, no, hot flashes gone.
So
and I've read that a lot. That helps a lot of women with hot flashes, vitamin E. There's other things too, of course, but you can't go wrong with making sure you have some extra vitamin E. And then depending if it's just skin dryness, primrose oil is amazing. It's also going to help with progesterone and estrogen balance.
Is this topical, or are we talking vitamins?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you can also take vitamins too, but you can, And
vitamin E is topical too, in an oil or in multivitamin?
You take it in capsule. The vitamin E in capsule, yeah. And also, one thing that's very helpful, I think all women should know about this, is castor oil. I've gotten rid of all creams and stuff, and just castor oil is very soothing and healing to the layers of the skin. It goes very deep, and so I find that it just repairs so well.
Mm-hmm. It's present in quite a lot of different types of creams, right?
Possibly, yeah, I'm sure it is. But I would just straight castor oil. You don't need all the extra stuff in. I mean, you can get it with other things, which can be, as long as it's natural. But yeah, experiment. See what your body likes.
I was just looking to check what's in this one. Aquaphor. I don't know if you have the same one. I haven't seen that one. I guess it's Aquaphor. Mm-hmm. I have it very handy here because it's for dry, cracked skin, and I find it's amazing at healing anything. Even for chapped lips, right? I prefer that to other things because the other ones just make my lips more chapped.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's good to find these things that really work, because otherwise you can get so frustrated with having some of these challenges. So I really appreciate you going into so much detail with us today and sharing your wisdom.
Happy to.
Now, Sarah, you mentioned that you have an assessment, which actually you did with me, which I thought was really valuable because it, helped me to look at some of the challenges that I've had in a way that was, I think, inspiring, right? Sometimes we've had something ongoing for a period of time, and we just kind of think, oh, I can't do anything about that. I'm just going to, focus on other things. So I appreciate that you did that with me. Is there anything that you would like to share with the audience today? Are you doing the assessment still, or are you doing a masterclass?
Yeah, the assessment is open. I take a few spots every week. So as long as they're available, you can book an assessment, and there's no course, or there's no call together. I do a video, a customized video. So you just fill out a form with all your details, and then I review it and I record a video going through everything so that you can take it, run with it, apply what resonates with you. Or if you want to go further and have help implementing it, then we could talk about that, and I do that as well.
Is there any final thing that you'd like to share with our audience today before we wrap up?
Just to see all the challenges and symptoms that your body gives you as a gift. Like, it really is a gift to go deeper and connect more with yourself and learn what your body is trying to tell you at this time. It's a message. So it's up to you to listen deeply, because that's where the gift is.
Thank you, Sarah. What's the best way for people to reach out to you?
You can find me sarahlynwayne.com and then /assessment for the assessment, but sarahlynwayne.com is where I'm at right now. Or just even email me, sarah@sarahlynwayne.com. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Wonderful. Thanks for joining us today.